Hello, everyone. My name is John T. Amisha. Today is March 2nd, no longer the 1st of the month. It's March 2nd. And this is our A0 Introduction to Circassian course. And I just made the announcement. This will be our last course. This will be our last class for a while. We have Ramadan coming up in April. I observe Ramadan. Many of our students observe Ramadan. It's fine if you don't observe Ramadan, that's a personal choice. But because I do, and because many of our students do, we've decided to take a break. And for me to just personally get ready for Ramadan, I don't want to just end and then go into it. I decided to end a little bit earlier than we originally planned. So there will be more videos, I promise. And in today's class, we're going to do something similar to what we did in last week's or Monday's class with the North American section. All right, so let me go to share screen. I just realized the other day that I'm literally 2 times as old as most of you people. And I realized that you guys are closer to my daughter in age than I am to you. And I just thought to myself, okay, so it's a very old man father. Okay, how do I share my screen? What am I doing here?
We're not old, John T.
We are not old.
We're not old.
They are young. Right. All right. So we're going to start. This will be a little bit of a review for, well, you know what? These are all micro stories. So we don't have to review nothing. We don't got to review crap. We're going to jump into something new. Yeah. This is a little racy for my tastes. There we go. Okay. Well, it's just about love, but the picture is a little racy, so we got to replace that. All right. So let's start here. All right. So this started, I know why this started. Somebody in my Eurasian class asked me, what can I do when there's no classes with John T? And my answer is reading. Okay. Read, read, read. There is a wealth of research on the topic of reading. Let me stop the share for a minute because I want to see all of you guys. Okay. There is a wealth of research on the subject of reading, and the consensus view on all the published research. George is a linguistics master's guy, so he can validate. Let me know if George, if what I'm about to say is false, let us know. So there is a consensus view in the literature that reading will deliver superior results in all 4 domains of language: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Reading will deliver superior results to anything else you can do. And in fact, there are several studies that would suggest that reading for as little as 15 to 20 minutes each night for a year, for 6 months to a year, can get you to a level of conversational fluency that an entire year of college level study, which would be 45 to 75 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week, that reading for as little as 15 to 20 minutes per night will deliver superior results than 1 full year of college study. Okay. So then the question arrives, well, how do we do the reading? So there's 2, and it sounds simple, but think about this for a minute. If you're training to run a marathon and your form is off by 1 nanometer and you run 10,000 steps, you could cause an injury. Something as simple as sweeping the floor or shoveling dirt, if you're putting your shoulder or your back in the wrong position by 1 millimeter, you could cause an injury. Now, you're not going to cause an injury by reading, but certainly there's a difference between, no results, some results, and optimal results. Okay. So when it comes to reading, there's 2 forms of reading. There is extensive reading and there is intensive reading. So intensive reading, there is some literature on intensive reading, which would suggest it's what most adults want to do, but it's not helpful. And there's a lot of research on extensive reading that suggests it's not super comfortable for adults, but it's very much how children learn, and it's more effective. So with intensive reading, what happens is if you read a sentence, I'll use English. The little boy ran down the hill. Okay. If you read that, and let's say that was in Circassian and you're reading it using intensive reading, you would look at the. Do I know the? Yes. Little. I know what little is. It's not big. Boy. Boy is not girl. Ran. Ran is a past tense of run. Run is like walking, but it's moving fast. Okay, I got that word. Down. It's the opposite of up. The. I know that word. Hill. It's like a small mountain. You would want to know every word and what it means. And you might understand every word at that moment in time, but you would not have the context to understand what that word really means, right? So I'll use the word run as an example. I can go for a run. I can run. One's a noun, one's a verb. My engine can run. An animal can run. I can run for an election campaign, right? I can run out of money. Those are all run. But because I'm looking at a context-dependent definition of that word, I don't understand the full context of that story. The other thing is the human brain is not wired to process information this way. Right now, as I'm speaking, you're not picking out every single word. You're looking for meaning. That's how the human brain is wired. So intensive reading is what adult learners gravitate towards because you want to know every word, but it's not effective. Extensive reading is the exact opposite. With extensive reading, you would say, the little boy ran down the hill. Well, there's a person, they're moving, and there's a slope. And that might be the level of fidelity that you have on the meaning of what you're learning, and that's okay. And the reason it's okay is as you continue to read, over time, you will pick up more and more words in more and more contexts, right? So if I were to say to you, the kablooey is very valuable to me. You don't know what kablooey is, right? But then if I say, I have a kablooey in my pocket, well, that's a very different context. And now you don't know what a kablooey is, but you know it's valuable and you know it's in my pocket. And then if I say, I'll give you 3 kablooies for that ice cream, you can now infer kablooey means money, right? So, and money is a high frequency word. You're going to hear it a lot. It's not like brain surgery. You don't hear brain surgery every day. You hear money every day, right? So that's an example of extensive reading. Over the course of reading, you will see those words multiple times in multiple contexts, and you will learn its meaning because you'll learn it through context, through context. And so it'll be cemented in your brain. It'll click one day. That's very different than the method of intensive reading, because what'll happen is over time, you'll be tempted, excuse me 1 minute, I just have to put my heater down. It's just so hot in my house right now. You'll be tempted to memorize that definition, and you're going to forget and memorize and forget and memorize, and it'll come and go. With extensive reading, one day, it's just going to snap in place for you, and you'll never forget it. Okay. So I can see George agrees. This is what the literature says. I've got a row of books. It's that top row that just validate everything I just said.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would just add something to complete what you said. I agree, but I think extensive reading is probably I think it's better if someone has a lower level in a language. For example, you guys, maybe I don't know, maybe you guys are more like beginners or maybe almost intermediate, something like that. If it's those lower levels, then I agree that it's the best method to do extensive reading. But maybe if you become really advanced, maybe then you can start learning more by looking at more specific individual words. Like for example, in my case, I mean, English isn't my first language, so I learned it a lot through like outside content from outside of my class, and I think it doesn't have to be only with reading. Like I agree that reading is very, very good, but I think it can also be from listening. Like I think any content that you absorb over a long period of time is really going to start to sink in after a while. And because technically, like I think people focus a lot on reading because usually books that are written in a style of language that is a little bit more on the formal end versus, when people speak in conversations, that tends to be more on the informal end. but both are actually equally valid content that you can learn from. So I think it really depends on like which kind of formality level you're consuming, and also because it depends. Like if you're watching a TV show, that TV show can be set in a formal end of language, which would be equivalent to a book. So I think it doesn't really matter whether it's a book or listening, as long as you consume a lot of content.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's what I did with English. And I remember when I was a kid, I would play a lot of video games in English, and it got me to a pretty high level after several years. And I think when I got to a really high level in English, that's when I started to focus on specific individual words that were like really advanced vocabulary, like for example, jeopardize or serendipity, whatever, things like that. I would learn those later, but then at the beginning, I would just focus on, I didn't even think that I was learning something. I would just play the game or read the book or whatever, and I would focus on doing the activity without focusing on like learning each word one by one. And then it just came over time. So that's what I would that's why I agree with you, and I've seen it with my own students and other people too. So I agree. Yeah.
Cool. So what we're going to be doing here is extensive reading. Well, I'm going to do a mix of the two. And if you are doing this on your own, if you have Circassian materials, great. If you don't, actually, I can share this deck with all of you guys, what we're about to go through. This is actually a great deck. So let me dive in now and let me explain what this is. And I'm going to pause something for just a minute. Hang on a second. You guys can all see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So let me explain what's going on here. Can you guys see the video of you guys as well?
Yeah.
Oh,
Video
Oh.
of you guys?
well, I
What
see
do you
other
mean?
participants, but not through your share screen.
Ah, okay, okay, okay.
Well, I see other people on top of the screen, like
Okay,
like squares. Yeah.
you're not mirroring my screen. Okay, cool.
No, yeah.
So in every, so this is in keeping with my Microstory approach. So here we've got a picture. We see some people, they're exercising. It's clearly winter outside. And there's a list of vocabulary that this covers off, right? So I've got the Circassian, I've got the English, I've got the Russian. There's a few spelling mistakes here. I wrote these 8 years ago when I was still learning. So there's no grammatical mistakes, but there are a few spelling mistakes. It's not, not a big deal. So we've got all the vocabulary here. So we've got January, year, new, to start, first, exercise, sport, healthy, right? And we've got them in Circassian, English, Russian, eventually I'll add Turkish, right? And then we've got the actual story. So let me close this. I want to delete this. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to be using here is called the 1, 2, 3 method of extensive reading. And this is popularized by Paul Nation. So under the 1, 2, 3 method, if you were doing this on your own, you would not read aloud until the 3rd time. You would read silently to yourself the 1st time, and you would just go as quickly as you can to just get the sense of what's going on. Now, I will read aloud because otherwise it's going to be very boring. But the 1st time around, I'm just going to read. Okay. Let's go. Sa yapu zizorasa sporter wuzensharash. Now, forget, if you were really doing extensive reading, you wouldn't have the vocabulary list here. So let's pretend for a moment that we don't have it. Now we're still on our first reading. We're on our first pass. So if I look at this, and I'm going to pretend I'm at your level of language. So this first word, never heard before. There's something in there that I might have heard, maybe in this class. Maybe. Don't know that. Sa, I know sa. I know sa. Yapo, zizorasa. Don't know it. Sporter, that's the sport. I know sport, sporter, the sport. Wuzensharash. I know Shara means what, class? What does it mean?
Health.
Health.
Healthy. Health or healthy. So I know, hey, I just figured out this last word. This last sentence. Sporter Sharash. Sports are healthy. Right? Okay. That's my first time. Now I'm going to read again a second time. Again, in my head. I'm reading out loud for you guys, but I'm going to pretend I'm reading in my head. So I'm going to pretend I know this word. Yeshes. Yeshes means year. Yeshes means year. And I'm looking at this picture. It looks like it's winter. So maybe it's New Year. It actually is New Year. So I'm just, this is how you would do extensive reading. Maybe that's January, New Year starts. Now I know the meaning, but I'm just, pretending a little bit. Sa yapo zizorasa. Maybe pa means nose. I know pa means nose. Yapa, their nose, or out in front. Oh, yapo, first. Again, I know what it means. I'm just pretending. Yapo, sa yapo, I first. Zizorasa, I don't know that one. Sporter was in Sharas. Sports are healthy. Okay. So now I'm going to do the third time reading. But now if I were reading on my own, I would read out loud. And let me tell you, if you're learning a language and you're reading something and you understand it, try to read it out loud. It doesn't matter what language it is. Try to read it out loud. I promise you, if there's a gap between your ability to read out loud in real time and your ability to read and just understand meaning, that you have a gap in your language skills. George, yes.
Yeah, I was gonna add to that too. I think on top of just consuming the content, it's also good to I think say it out loud is also good because then you're not just being passive, but you're also because when you hear it in your own, if you were to just passively absorb it. Yeah, right. Exactly, Medine. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now the third time, and if this is you, right? Actually, does anybody want to try to read this? Do you want to try? You read Cyrillic. So before Yanal goes, remember, he's being very brave right now. He reads Cyrillic, but he doesn't read Circassian. And I'm telling you in advance, he's going to stutter. He's going to pause. That's what you will be doing as well. That's part of your brain wiring all 4 domains of language at the same time. Reading, writing, listening, speaking. Your brain is wiring all the synapses to be able to do this. And you're trying to understand the meaning. Okay. So take your time now and go for it.
Iliasischer Schadze, Siapo Zizohasa, Sporter Uzen Sharash.
So you did pretty good. Let me highlight this. Sushulim, Yithasisher, Shedza. Sa, Yapo, Zizorasa. Sporter was in Sharash. Okay. So now let me give you the actual meaning of this. Now you have the English down here, right? You have the English down here. And when I update these, I'm not sure if I'm going to do a gloss translation or a vernacular translation, but the January. That's how we say it, the January. The New Year. Begins. January starts or begins the New Year, right? So that's what you see down here. Sayapu zizorasa. So we don't have a dedicated word to exercise because exercise is a modern Western fat American thing. You know, when we were 200 years ago out in the wilderness, we did an exercise, right? So zizorasa really means, rasen means to train. Zizo is a reflexive prefix. It means I'm doing it to myself. So I am training myself. And that's how we would say I'm exercising. Then the last sentence has two words, sporter, the sport, that's how we say it, was in shagash. Sports are healthy. Okay. So that's the 1, 2, 3 method. Now I want everybody to go on mute if you're not already on mute and read with me. Okay, practice with me. I will pronounce and we'll do it 1, 2, 3. I will pronounce and you will follow me. Okay, so let me go back here again. Sl, shillam, shillam, yches, yches, ychesisher, ychesisher. I want to see your lips moving, everyone. Shedza, shedza, shedza. Sa, yapo, yapo, z, zo, zizo, raça, zizo, raça. Sport, sporter, wuzin, sharas. Was in sharas. Okay. One more time. Shishilim yechesser shedza. Sa yapu zizorasa. Sporter was in sharas. Last time. Shishilim yechesser shedza. Sa yapu zizorasa. Sporter was in sharas. Okay. Open your microphones. Inal.
Sit.
Sit. Yechesisher shedza.
Sit yechesisher shedza. Shishalim yechesisher shedza.
Haj. Shishilim yechesisher shedza. Shishilim yechesisher shedza. George.
Sit, Janti.
Sit. Shishilim yesa. What does January do?
Shillam yechesisher shedza.
Haj. Yechesishim yechesisher shedza. Satanai. Sit shora. When? Sit shora. Yechesisher shedza.
A shillam.
Shishilim. Pez. Pez. When does the new year begin? In January. Sit shora. Yechesisher shedza. Shishilim. Shishilim. Berzej.
Janti.
Sit shora. Shishilim shedza.
Yechesisher shedza.
Pez. So I asked Satanai, when does January begin? And I asked Berzej, when does New Year begin? And obviously January and New Year begin together. So the same answer is the same for both of them. Okay. Zanshawa.
Sit.
Sit. Sa. Yapu. Sisra. What do I do for the first time? Sit sa yapu sisra.
Sayapu zizugasa.
Pej. Sa yapu zizorasa. Sa yapu zizorasa. Ola.
Sit.
Chet. Yapu zarasra. What did I ask you?
Who is exercising?
For the first time.
Who's exercising for the first time? So,
So
Um,
chet.
so,
Pej. Sa yapu zizorasa. Sa yapu zizorasa. Rakan.
Sit.
Sit. Sa sra.
Sa yapo zizorage.
Pej. Sa yapu zizorasa. Sa yapu zizorasa. Medin.
Sit.
Dawa. How? Dawa. Sa zarasra.
Seguapa zizorasa.
Sa yapu zizorasa.
Sayapo.
Sa
I keep
yapu
on-
zizorasa.
I keep on wanting to say Yapu like guapa, and I have no idea why. I don't even know if that's a real word.
It's not, but I can tell you why.
Why?
Somewhere, somehow in your brain, there's a neuron that's wired to say guapa. And there's another neuron that's trying to figure out how to make a connection to memorize this, not to memorize this, to encode this into your brain. And it's very, very close to that other neuron that's already hardwired. And so they're misfiring. Your neurons are misfiring across one another.
When I was repeating after you, you kept saying Yapo, but I kept saying guapa, and I don't know why.
If it makes you feel any better, every time I hear it, I know the word guapa, right? Guapa to me, it sounds like it's something's dripping with something not nice. I don't know why, even though it means pleasure. But every time I hear guapo, I think of El Guapo from the Three Musketeers, that movie from the 1980s.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm 20 years older than most of you guys. Yamiz,
Sit.
sit was in Shara.
Sit. Wasn't sure. Sport. Sporter.
Sporter was in
Wasn't
Shara.
sure.
Yamiz,
Sit.
sporter sit.
Sports. Wasn't sharash.
Pej was in Sharas, was in Sharas. Okay, so that is extensive reading with TPRS. How are you guys feeling? I see some people excited. I see some people confused. I see some people maybe angry. Satanai, I see your face. How are we feeling about this? Let's open up the microphones. Caller one, first time caller, long time listener. What's going on?
I think it's great.
I like it too. I think your method, I wasn't even like fully paying attention because I was just getting ready like to join class. And so I just had like the mic on, and every time you went through it, I picked up more words like yes, because of Optalingo. I told you I mess with my mom a lot. And so before I leave the house, sometimes I say, I forgot how it goes. Right? She'll be like, next year, you know, so I picked up more and more the more you repeated it.
Okay. Satanai, you got the most interesting expression on your face. How are you feeling right now?
No, I think it's great. I mean, I have to use my the few brain cells I have a lot. But I have to go through the alphabets to do this, but I think it's very beneficial.
So part of the reason I'm doing this, so side note, I do daily one-to-one classes with my other daughter. One of my daughters is too busy. I'm not going to shame. No. So I do this with one of my other daughters. And what we're finding is, and this, I'm still kind of experiment because no one's done what I'm trying to do. There's one other person on the planet trying to do this right now. My good friend Hamid. We're the only two people figuring this out in real time. What I'm finding with my daughter is that, and this is in contrast, I think you guys have all seen or about my alphabet tutorial, right? It's helpful, but after you watch it once or twice, it's friggin' boring. You don't want to do it again. So what I find with my daughter, because my daughter, she's had a lot of exposure to Cyrillic and stuff. I would actually say, Satanai, again, you have me. So when you don't have me, how do you read, right? But when you have me, don't worry about learning the alphabet. After 5 or 7 stories, you're going to have enough working knowledge of the alphabet that it's going to fall into place. It's going to make sense.
Yeah, and I could make some of the letters already, just by associating the sound to
Mhm.
the. So yeah, but yeah, I think it's great. It's going to be
Okay.
hard. But it's
Okay.
good.
So now we're going to do a little bit of freestyle. Okay. So, Yemiz,
Sit.
wa sporter wigurihara
Siguriha.
sigroh.
Sigroh.
Medin,
Sit.
sit Yemiz yigrihara.
Can you say that again?
Sit Yemiz yigrihara. What does Yemiz like?
Sporter.
Sporter. Yemiz sporter yigroh. Yemiz sporter yigroh. Rakan.
Sit.
Sporter وزنشة حمراء زران.
Sporter وزنشة.
وزنشش. Sporter وزنشش. Who knows what zaran means?
Healthy.
Probably.
Wazinsha means healthy. Wazinsha means healthy. So what do we think? Take a guess. What do we think zaran might mean?
Unhealthy.
Bad for you.
Harmful.
Oh.
Zaran. Zaran. Sporter rakan.
Sit.
Sporter wazinsha حمراء زران.
Sporter وزنشاش.
Sporter wazinshash. Hola.
Sit.
Sit zaran.
Sit zaran.
Sit
Like
zaran.
give you example.
Muzukhwem.
Coca-Cola zaransh.
Coca-Cola zaransh. Coca-Cola wazinsha.
Within shaqam
Wazinshaqam.
zaran.
Zaransh. Zaransh. Zanshawa.
Sit.
Wa adigabza zaghasra. Wa adigabza zaghasra.
I'm not exactly sure with like exercise and atigabza.
So remember, this word, it also means to train.
Oh, okay. So the adigabza zizugasa.
Pej adigabza zizorasa. Pej. Sa adigabza zizorasa. Qaja'a.
Because that
Zanshawa.
like practice, like, or is that kind of like the implication? It's like, yeah, I practice.
So you're saying, when you say, this is a very common phrase. Sa adigabza zizorasa. I'm practicing Circassian. So, qaja'a zanshawa. Wa qaja'a. Tell me again.
Yeah. Sa adigabza zizugasa.
Wa adigabza ziborasa. Wa ziborasa. Sa zizorasa wa ziborasa. Pej. Berzaj.
Janti.
Wa kitayibza zaghasra.
وسا كتايبزا زغاسركم.
Okay. Wa sit zaghasra.
أديابزا زغاسة.
Adigabza ziborasa. Pej. Yemiz sit.
When you say it's a qaja'a, to tell me again, can you say jiri? Jiri?
Qaja'a means tell me. Yijiri qaja'a means tell me again.
Okay. Hope so.
So is. Sarah.
Sit, Janti.
Dawshit.
Harzinish Dawshit. Sorry, I was having some technical issues at the
No
beginning.
problem. No problem. I made an announcement to the class. I'm not sure if you were in that we're going to end classes today at the beginning of March rather than the end of March because I've got some family matters that I'm resolving before Ramadan starts. Okay.
I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope everything's okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sarah.
Sit.
Khat adigabza zagasara.
So I did miss the first part. So zagasira is kind of a new word, I think.
Okay. So we can see here, remember, there's a difference between the statement form and the question form, right? So here we say zizorasa. The word is actually zagasan. That's the infinitive form. It means to exercise. It also means to practice or to train. Okay. So take a guess at what I'm asking you. Khat adigabza zagasara.
What do you exercise?
Who is learning Circassian? Who is practicing Circassian? Khat adigabza zagasara.
Sa adigabza zagasa.
Zizorasa.
Zazagasa.
Pej. Okay, so sa adigabza zizorasa. Zizorasa.
Zazagasa.
Inal.
Sit.
Yijibstu sushla.
Hawa. يجبستو ششلقم.
Sit yijibstu.
شرقم.
Arqam. March.
زتو ش.
How, oh my God, I know all the months except for March. Hang on. It doesn't matter.
On the
I'm not
other
gonna-
slide
What's
from
that?
yesterday. It was from yesterday's slide. It was in there.
Oh
Was it?
yeah.
Yeah, it
March?
was in there. I'm forgetting what it was.
Radkapa.
Hot.
Radkapa. Okay. Inal.
sit جانتي.
Yijibstu sushla.
حاول يجبستو ششلقم. يجبستو غرخبة.
Radkapas. Radkapas. You see? He was in the last week. He was in Monday's class. Okay. George.
Sit Sikwarsh.
Yijibstu sushlam shidzara.
Nta Egyptos Shilliam Ichlisar Shedza.
Tá, pej. Yijibstu sushlam yitlasishar shidza. Satanai.
Yes.
Yijibstu American Idol shidzara.
Nta American Idol Egyptush Edza.
Peju. Sitko de televizor canal.
Sirumcha NBC. In my opinion, I don't know.
So in English, tell me what we just said. I want to make, I think you got it, but I just want to make sure. Tell me in English what you think we just said.
I forgot. What did we say? No. For real, you asked, right?
I asked you if right now American Idol is starting.
Yeah.
And you said, okay, so you got it. You got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huge brain cell.
So you see what we're doing here. It's a 3-sentence story, right? We go through the sentence, we go through the story, we make sure we get it, but then we deviate from the story. And I'm asking you every word. I'm asking every person in the class, every word in the story, but I'm leveraging what I think you know in terms of vocabulary and what I might happen to know about current events, maybe your personal life, your family, stuff like that. And we're done. We're done. We can now go to the next micro story. So over time, if we go through, oh my God, Seth and I just put an, oh, okay. So check.
No.
So over time, as we go through like the goal would be to go through all these 88 slides. And when you get to the end, you will have been exposed to 600, almost 700 words that are very helpful, very useful. Satanai.
So I wanted to say, I think it's showing on NBC. So I think would be Cecil. What would I think be? That was in my opinion.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Sasigurumcha.
Cecil.
Yeah. So in Circassian, you can say, I think. Sesogupsis. Sesogupsis. But we would say that, we wouldn't say that like, I think it's at 5 o'clock. I think it's on NBC. We would say that to say like, as a factual statement, I am thinking, right? So what's the sesogupsis? I'm thinking, right? If we're going to say, I think it's on NBC, we would say, sasigurumcha, in my idea, sasigurumcha, NBC imtech. It's on NBC. Okay. All right. One more micro story.
Yeah.
Now oh my God, I saw Satanani, right? It's a little bit harder, right? But it's because your brain's working harder. Okay. All right. Let's see. What do we got next? What do we got next? Oh, look at all these words. Look at all these words. Oh my God. All right. Let's go through the words. All right. Khajebs. 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 Does anybody know where this word comes from?
Yeah, you've told us it's a Netmaker, right?
It's a Netmaker. Okay.
Yeah.
So this word came to Eastern Circassian through Western Circassian. So the Shepsoul and the Wobuch and the Abaza, but the Abaza are technically not Adiga. The Shepsoul and the Wobuch used to be seafarers on the Black Sea, and they would go fishing and they would fish with a net. So net in Circassian is ch. In Western Circassian, but now no longer in Eastern Circassian, jeb, je, means to knit. And bz is a prefix or an affix that means female. So khajebs is a female knitter of nets. I think that says something about how important fishery was to Western Circassians at some point. Yamiz, you're Shepsoul, right? Yeah. So I'm on my mom's side, I'm actually Memchel. Today, Memchel identify as Kabardians, but 200, 300, 400 years ago, they were Shepsoul. So khajebs. Shachsha. Shachsha. Short. Takuma. Takuma. Berzaj, do you know the word for rabbit? Takuma. Uh-huh. Takuma. Takuma. So rabbit is takuma. Chah. What's chah? Not Berzaj. Who knows what chah means?
Long.
Long.
Right?
Or tall. Long or tall.
Oh.
Right? So takuma, ear. Takuma chah, rabbit, long ears. Long ears. Cha. Cha. Or ka. So Zanshawa, Zanshawa, if you were with Hamid right now, he would say ka, ka. I say cha, cha. Both are acceptable. Both are acceptable. Cha, skirt. It also means tail. Bruza. 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 Shaghanan, to wear. Shaghanan. Ab, he, she, or it. Ashin. 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 A means hand. A means hand. A thin, the thing you are wearing on your hand. The thing you are wearing on your hand, a thin ring. Tw, 5. Berzej for you. Tf, tf, tf. I'm sorry. Yeah. Erchen, to wear a ring. To wear a ring. Erchen. Okay. So let's look at the story. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. Khajebs. So put yourselves on mute and practice with me. Khajebs. Tharsha. Hakumeshwam. Cha. Bruza. Shursh. You see the English. A short woman with big ears wears a tight skirt. Abe. Athanitr. Athanitr. Athan. Itr. Athanitr. Ariths. Ariths. Okay. One more time. Whoops. Khajebs tharsha takumeshwam cha waza source abe atlantique atlanitr sorry atlanitr arish. Last time. Khajebs tharsha takumeshwam cha waza source abe atlanitr arish. All right, open up the mics. Inal.
Sit.
Khajabzam yithakumr yin hamratzak.
Khajabzum thakumar yin.
Yinch.
Yinch.
Khajabzar thakumashwash.
Inta thakumashwash khajabzum.
So we say in Circassian, she's a big-eared girl. She's a girl with big ears. She's a big-eared girl. Okay. Inali. Arwaru qaja'a. Khajabzum yithakumakar sitwada.
Khajabzum thakumayin.
Takumayin. Arashi. Therefore.
Khajabzum thakumashwam.
Khajabzir.
Khajabzir.
Takumashwash. Takumashwash. George.
It's
Khajabzum yitchar sitwada.
Yitchar.
Khajabzum. Whoops. I'm sorry. Khajabzum yitchar sitwada.
Okay. Khajabzum yitchar brozash.
Satanai. Khajabzum yitchar brozash. Yichi and also yichi sit. Tlaxash. Tlaxash. Berzej.
Gentil.
Khajabzum yitchar chih.
Our yitchar tlaxash.
Haj yitchar tlaxash. Zanshawa.
Sit.
Khajabzum. Ye. Mr. Mr means thing. Khajabzum. Ye Mr. Bghozash. Sit ye Mr.
Cha.
Cha. Arashi, therefore, make a statement for me.
Khajabzum. Cha. Woods. Gosh, I can't get that word.
Bghozash.
Wood. Wait, hold on.
So-
How do you say that word again, please?
B.
Wuzza.
You got it.
Okay, there we go.
Z. Bghozash. We add the ash because we're making a statement.
Okay.
Hola.
Sit.
You ready for this?
Yeah. Let's try.
Take a deep breath.
I did.
Jabzum. Sit. Shughra. Sit shughra.
Rings.
Okay. Sit ring.
5 rings.
Qaja'a adi gabzacha.
I can't read it.
Athin.
Athlin.
Athinithu.
Athlinit means 5 rings.
5 rings.
Athlinit.
Rakan.
Sit.
Khajabzum. Athinithu. Shursh. Sit yijiri shughra.
Hijabs. Cha. Shogash. Shirash.
Shursh. Mta. Khajabz. Cha. Shursh. Yemiz.
Sit.
Khajabzum. Sit khwada cha shughra.
Hijabzums. Sugar. Wuzza. Shirish. Shirish.
Khajabz.
Hijabs.
Cha.
Hijabs cha.
Bghoza.
Wuzza.
Shursh.
Shirish.
Sarah.
Sajanti.
Khajabz. Cha. Bghoza. Shursh. Sit yijiri yicham teohuawa. What else do we know about her skirt?
Tight. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Tlaachshash.
Tlachshash.
I'm sorry. Short. We said tight. Short. Tlaachshash.
Tlachshash. So
Tlaachshash.
tlachshash is short or tight?
Tlaachsha is short.
Okay.
Bghoza is tight. Yinal.
Sit.
De bghozara.
What? Sit.
Warasara. De bghozara.
Dawich.
We're tight, right?
Dawich.
All right. So let's kind of leave it there for now. Sada, you have a question?
Yes, quick question. So hijabs is both for woman and girl?
Khajabs is for girl.
Okay.
Khajabs is for girl. For woman, so for woman, there's a word that is available to use, but you should not use it. And the word is fizz. Now, the reason you shouldn't use it is because there's a connotation in Circassian culture that fizz is an old woman. So even if you're referring about your grandmother, you would not use the word fizz.
Okay.
Okay. So, but khajabs means girl. there is a different word that we use for female. It literally means female, and it's bzithua.
Mhm. So, because in the story, we were saying hijabs is woman, right?
Yeah, we were. I would say if somebody is married, we would no longer call them hijabs. And if they're beyond their 20s, we probably would not say hijabs.
Mhm.
I mean,
Okay.
this is a very gray, we're on the edge of gray here, right? So
Mm.
hijabs. It's complicated. But you know what? For your purposes, hijabs is girl or woman.
Okay, I'll stick to that. Thank
Okay.
you.
George, you have a question?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Okay, so it's actually a note because I thought of something really interesting. So remember at the beginning of class when we talked about like you recommended us to read so that it would come over time to us. So this made me think of a Chinese expression that fits the situation perfectly. I don't know if Yamiz, maybe you know it. So it goes ba miao zhu zhang. So what it means is like it means, okay, it means to pull like to pull sprouts out of the ground in order to make them grow. It basically means like you're too impatient to make the sprouts grow by themselves, so you want to make them grow faster, and then you pull them out of the ground, but by doing so you make them stop growing. So you want to make it too fast, but it just does the opposite. So that's exactly what you told us. It's like, don't be too intensive and try to like cram too many words at once. Just let it come over time. So yeah, take the time it takes. Yeah.
Yep. 100%. You're not going to remember everything, but you're going to walk away. Like Sada is going to know hijabs for the rest of her life. She's going to, hijabs means girl, sometimes maybe woman. I'm not sure, but she's going to know that word.
For sure.
For sure. Zanshawa, you have a question?
What about the word for girl that I've heard a lot before, pshasha?
Pshasha is more like of a maiden.
Oh, okay.
All right. So you want to get very technical. Awa is an infant. Awa. There's no gender associated with an infant. Nanu is a baby. Nanu is a baby. Sabi is a child. Sabi is a child. And I would say, so awa, maybe up to a year. Nanu, maybe a year to 2 years, 3 years. Sabi, maybe 3 to 6 years. Then you get into Shala, which is boy or guy. I'm Shala, even though I'm not going to say how old I am. I'm a lot older than I look I am. 2 times the age of many of you. So even I am a Shala, right? You could be 50, 60, 70 years old. You could be Shala, some guy, right? Shalaj, old guy, right? So you can be Shala throughout all of your age. Hijabs is a girl between the ages of 6 and 13, right? And then once you go into puberty, you would be a pshasha, right? And you would be pshasha from the age of, puberty until marriage. I thought that was just Abazak. What did you think was Abazak? Pshasha?
Yeah, I thought it's just a different dialect, not really like a meaning behind it.
No, we say it in both dialects. Pshasha.
I think it's more common because they don't say hijabs in Abza. They mainly just use pshasha.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right.
So if Sabrina was a little bit older, we say pshasha.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So right now she's my hijab. She's my little girl. She's my guasha. She's my princess. But once she gets a little bit older, she'll be pshasha. All right. So this is not goodbye. This is see you guys later, right? But any closing comments, final statements, last will and testament? Yes, Ola.
So is this last class for us and the other class, or they're having their last class after?
No, I love the other class, and I'm just telling you guys to go. No, their last class is tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Why? What were you thinking? Party, class party, pizza party?
This Saturday.
Well, okay.
Party at Sportsmaster in Nalchik.
Yeah.
Since we like
Sportsmaster.
talking about sports.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to tell you, I'm heartbroken. I was so planning to be a Nalchik all summer. And I mean, you know, a lot could happen between now and then, but
yeah,
I don't know. Inad, you had a question.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thanks for all the work you've put in. I don't think I would have gotten as far as I've gotten without this. And yeah, hoping this isn't the last of it. Not to impose any work on you.
No, it's not the last. I'm telling you, as long as I breathe, I'm going to be teaching. But it's so you feel you've made progress.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm so glad that makes me so happy. That makes me so happy.
Every time after, so before back in August, I knew like 3-4 words I could like fetch from my memory. Now after every class, I go back downstairs and I have try to have a conversation with my parents to practice everything I've learned. So it's definitely progress.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that. Are you planning to be in Homeland in the summer, you know?
I was planning to be in Homeland in May and then again in August because my cousin's getting married, but I don't know now. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I hear you. George, you have a statement, question, observation?
Statement, I guess. So I just wanted to I'm a bit emotional right now, but I just wanted to say that I'm very, very thankful for you for all the time and effort you've put in on top of all the other preoccupations that you have in your life, you know, to like build all this all these crap loads of materials and like dedicate so long each week to help us. I mean, to help those that are Circassian, to help them reclaim their language that they no longer have in their family line, to help them reclaim that, which is a big part of their hearts. And you know, me, the bunny, just hopping around, like helping me get you know, connect with such a really absolutely wonderful community of people. I've learned a lot from, you know, about Circassians by being exposed to the real people. And I think that's important, and I've learned a lot from that. So the real main point that I want you to remember is that everything you've done is not in vain. It's you've helped a lot of people, and all the effort you've put in we're going to reap the fruit from that. Like, it's going to lead somewhere for sure.
Inshallah.
I promise. We all promise you. Yeah.
Thank you. Zanshawa, you have something to say?
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you as well. And that even back in like 2019, like before I started looking into like learning the language, like I had it in my mind like that it was like not possible like whatsoever. So like when I found like Optolingo and like learning about you were like the like shining light. I was like, oh my God, this person from America who didn't like know like a word of like Circassian, like he's fluent, like it's possible. Like I had hope. So being able to take this class with you and continue these studies and to just feel so much progress and learning so many more words and just so much progress in general, I just feel really thankful.
Thank you so much. I feel like I'm going to cry because like I ask myself all the time, are they learning? Are they progressing? Do they feel that they're learning? Do they feel they're progressing? And it's such a subjective thing. So just to hear that so many of you guys feel like you've made progress, it warms my heart. It really does warm my heart. Thank you. Yes, Ola.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I not only learned Adikabza from you, I really learned more from your personality, dedication, and the way you plan things, even those side stories you tell us here and there. It was just a bunch of a lot of things, not just the content you share with us. and I'm very proud of you. And I'm glad this is not our last class. It won't stop here.
Not going to stop here.
We're just gonna miss you for Ramadan period.
I'm going to miss you guys too. You know, I have a guilty confession to make. During the Ramadan period, my wife is an absolute saint. My wife is an absolute saint. I've been invited to join a class taught by the Rassius Institute using TPR. So TPR is the precursor to TPRS. And we're recording, but who knows who's listening this far into the presentation. John Rassius is the inventor of TPR, right? So what we're using is TPRS. TPR originally stood for total physical response. I've actually studied with John Rassius. He's passed away. His daughter still runs the institute at Dartmouth, which is an Ivy League school. So they invited me to participate in a semi-intensive virtual TPR session. So I learned a lot by going to the TPRS workshops and their university. So I did a physical workshop live in person with Blaine Ray, the originator of TPRS. Now I'm going to do a virtual workshop with Dartmouth University's I always mispronounce the guy's name. God rest his soul. Rassius Institute. So I'm really eager to see like what methods they're using, because during COVID, a lot of people have innovated in the language learning space. So I originally was like, no. And then my wife was talking to me. She's like, what do you think about doing Ramadan? I'm like, well, you should do it. You should do it. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. I'll bring you iftar while you're in front of your computer. It'll be no big deal. I'm like, oh my God, what a saint. So I'm actually super excited to go to their TPR semi-intensive workshop. One thing I've already seen, they do it 2 times a week for 2 hours. So we do 90 minutes, but they've sectioned it off in a 6-week course. So already I'm learning like, hey, 6 weeks, 2 hours. So I'm really excited to see what they teach and how they teach. And what I really want to do is combine what the original TPR people are doing today with what the TPRS people are doing today. And I can say, I know both of these schools of thought pretty well. They've both innovated massively during this whole COVID thing. So I'm just really excited to see what they do. And I'm super excited to like bring that knowledge back here and try to combine the best of the best to have an even more powerful curriculum.
Yeah, here you go, a new plan.
Yeah. Best of luck with that, John T.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're gonna nail it, and you're gonna be even better than you already are now. Like, so imagine later after taking the class, how even better you'll be. It's amazing.
Thank you, brother. Yamiz, you have a question or statement?
No, Satane was next though.
Oh, I'm sorry, Satanai.
It's okay, Emiz. No, I just wanted to say thank you again. I know it's so time consuming and you've got little kids, and I know this comes also with a lot of obstacles and frustrations that you might sometimes feel, but please do not stop what you're doing. In my home, we play the YouTube videos a lot. My girls like to, they've learned a few words too. So despite all the frustrations and the obstacles, please keep doing what you're doing because it's incredibly phenomenal.
Satanai, I'm so opposite of that. My goal is to turn every single one of you guys into teachers.
Okay, maybe then let's.
Yeah, no. You think I'm going to get burned out and walk away? No. I'm going to teach you guys all so well that eventually every single one of you is going to become a teacher.
Everyone's going to want to be in my class.
I'll get your children to become our next generation of teachers. How about that? Yamiz, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I really want to piggyback off what Zenshawa said, because that was probably the most important thing for me, was finding someone with a similar situation. I know when you started, you were at my age, and just having someone who understands what it's like to go through all of these different issues and not have someone native teach you. That's kind of what I wanted, someone who can understand my pain points. And then just besides that, I've been learning from you even before this course started, as you know, just your videos and everything. And this really catapulted things forward for me. even when I speak with my mother and she comes into the room and she says "wishkunu," you know, and things like that, we try to use a lot of the vocabulary from class. Then just on a final note, I'm excited about your future programs. Really want to be a part of that as well, and I'm sure everyone in our class does as well. We're looking forward to that.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, so many more people. Satanai, did you still have something to say, or is your okay? Sada.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I really appreciate everything you've been doing for us for the past few months. This class has been so enjoyable, so valuable, and you helped create like a sense of community, which is something rare these days. So just thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. Thank you as well. Thank you. George.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share an anecdote. So basically, when I was doing my bachelor's, I had a little experience of like an internship where I worked with Indigenous peoples of Canada in the linguistics field. So like I've worked with you know, a group of people called Innu, which I've told you about. And I had a teacher who, you know, is a native speaker and taught me the language, etc. And so basically, I have noticed a lot of very similar situations to what Circassians are, what I've noticed Circassians are going through. It's like a lot of younger people, especially those living outside of the communities, are losing the language quite quickly. And, you know, I always find it so heartbreaking because when, you know, guys, when anytime that a language is lost, it's never because of the language itself. It's always because of like social, cultural, historical factors that have caused the people who speak that language to go through extreme suffering. And it's really like, you cannot just take the loss of a language in a vacuum and be like, oh, well, you know, it happens, it's natural, let's move on. No, it's not natural at all. Like there is always intense human suffering behind the loss of a language. And I think it's so brave that you guys are doing, you know, you guys are trying to learn a language that you really don't have to do this, right? Like there's no law that's imposing you to learn Circassian. It takes time off of your really already super busy week, yet you're still doing that. You're still doing that because you care, and like you want your this really important part of your hearts to come back, right? And I've noticed this with a lot of, you know, endangered language communities which I work with. So it's beautiful. Like you're working to bring, like, to bring you know, your own souls back onto you that you've lost, but also to bring diversity back onto humanity and Earth, like so that all of humanity can enjoy and like learn from you, not just for you, right? All of us learn from other cultures. So I just wanted to like give you guys this note of encouragement, and I hope I want to tell you, never give up your fight. It's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Mm.
We know Rakan is never going to give up the fight.
Yeah, of course not.
Cool. Berzej.
Yeah, Janti, I just wanted to share, I mean, not only was this successful in the way of the content that you taught us, but I think this was successful in your execution of how you brought this all together and how you made this happen. You know, just growing up Adiga and seeing all the different organizations and little groups form and, you know, collapse, it's just kind of, you know, pessimistic and it's, you know, saddening, but I see this going very far, and I see this going in the right direction with like the type of retention you've created is really successful in my eyes. So I'm excited for what the future holds of this. I think we're going to retain, you know, this momentum and just keep moving forward. I can really see it.
Thank you. Well, you know, on that note, I mean, look, most of you, I think all of you, with the exception of Rakan, you all started with me in September, right? Is there anybody who was not here in September? So, you know, Yamiz is the new guy on the block at the CBA, New Jersey. I served my time, right? I've got my tattoos. Yamiz, you know, you've been around the ringer. What's the retention of classes for like people who start in New Jersey?
So we started the class 4 times in a year.
Yeah. The half-life of a Circassian student in most places is a month. So a
Yeah.
month later, you're left with half. A month later, you're
Yeah.
left with half. A month later, you're left with
That's-
none.
That's the thing. It lasted for like a month, and then it would take 2 months to reboot. And then I'd learn like some of the letters again, 3 words, and then that was it. And then we'd have to do it again
Yeah.
4 times in a year.
Yeah, I would say we had the same issue back in Jordan. I've attended so many classes and retention rates is always low. And
Mhm.
I was one of those people who was always pulling out, but I mean, it's more interesting the way you're doing it. So yeah, that's what kept us going.
I'm going to end the video recording because I'm going to speak candidly. So we're going to talk crap about anybody who's watching this YouTube video right now. So sorry.